The Paris Motor Show 2024 was truly a tale of two technologies and two halves. EVs dominated the show with 24 new models dangled in front of us for late this year and 2025. And Citroën CEO Thierry Koskas stated he believed that a tipping point for EVs had already been reached. The 9 Chinese manufacturers were present in a big way, and locally, both Renault and Peugeot had multiple entries, with Stellantis there with their joint venture with Leapmotor and the release of the T03. Important because this and the soon-to-be released B10 and C10 models, very much bigger but not much dearer, are all made in Poland from kits supplied from China to beat the new EU tariffs for Chinese products. I'm Dave. This is Dave Takes It On. Well, based in Paris, the show was dominated by local homegrown French manufacturers, Peugeot, Renault, Dacia and Citroën. Big shout out to Renault, who tend to make most of their own EVs and their own batteries in country. Other Europeans were there, the Italians trailing badly with most of their EV plants shut down, namely the Fiat 500. And they made a big splash with the Alfa Romeo Junior. All manufacturers seem to be deliberately targeting the budget end of the market, with cars galore under €30,000 and many under 20,000. They seem to have been listening to their customers. Meanwhile, the Germans were noticeably missing. They were there but doing nothing. Audi did launch their latest e-tron Q6 Sportback, but between 65 and 95,000, good luck to that. They had their own message for their own customers. Tesla normally don't make any effort at motor shows, and this was no exception. They were there with a few cars plonked randomly, but the centrepiece was the Cybertruck, which is not even on sale in Europe. Enough said. Well, this is the overview. Initial reviews of all EVs on display will follow once the specs are released, and test drives when they are available. Citroën were there with the EC3 priced at about €25,000, but with a more basic model out early 2025, and that's going to be at $19,995. In the UK, the EC3 is priced at $22,000, and that is competitive. They really are heading to the more affordable end of the new market. They also had a new refreshed Ami. These are proving popular as they do not require a full driving licence. And so those unlucky enough to lose their licenses can at least drive something, slowly. There's also a beach buggy style Ami coming out later on for the surfers. Both of these are around about the £8,000 mark in the UK. Renault in all the guises were there, very big style. At the premium end, they had Alpine, and the range was prominent, but most of them up in the £200,000 plus price tag and with insane performance and styling to match. More realistically, they had the A390 there, which is aimed at the Porsche Macan market, and it's likely to be priced around about £60,000, no firm figure as yet. Or right down at the budget end was the Twingo, again not yet released. That's due in 2025. That's got a price tag of under €20,000. But they were really big into the retro market. The Renault 5 is already out. To me, it's disappointing as the only model so far released is the top model, priced at €33,000. That's a bit on the high side. The €25,000 basic model is not due out until early 2025. This is actually a much smaller car than most people realise. It will sell purely on the R5 history and heritage, and it has kept much of those features. One that would sell is a Renault 5 turbo version. You know, that one with the huge rear wheel arches. Anyway, make an EV version of that with performance to match, and that would be a winner, whatever the price. But sticking with the iconic retro theme, they've just launched the Renault 4. Those of a certain age will remember these well from the 1960s. A really boxy, practical vehicle bordering on a van. They've stuck to this scale, and the R4 sits above the R5 in size, while the interior looks very familiar. Well, it is the one that's already installed in the R5. Prices to be confirmed, but that is also likely to be well under £30,000. The next surprise is only a concept at this stage, but the Renault 17 might make a comeback. I actually had one of these. They were the sporty versions of the range. Well, sporty at the time, that is. The majority of EVs today would leave the old 17 standard. It's certainly identifiable visually as a 17, and I really hope it does make an appearance. And at the very bottom end of the market, there's the Duo, and this is a replacement for the Twizy. Once again, a tandem arrangement, but looking decidedly snazzy. It's got a range of over 100 miles and a 50-mile-an-hour top speed, so no more holding up the traffic. This is likely to start in the UK at well under £10,000, could be under 9, and is scheduled to appear from spring 2025. I did say this was a deliberate target at the budget end of the market. Dacia Spring also made an appearance. Yeah, they're owned by Renault. Their Spring all EV is priced at $14,995 and is available now. And that was very much the theme of the whole show. Cheap, affordable EVs to launch into the small family 3 and 5-door hatchback, but with a little bit of style. As a second car, most of these are perfect. Forget all you hear about range. Your average small hatchback rarely ever goes beyond the local supermarket, school, scouts, ballet, and your favourite eatery. If you can charge one of these at home, you'll never ever run out of battery, and they will do amazingly well. Yeah, they even have a decent boot space. Stellantis appears hot and cold. The Fiat member of the group is not doing well at all. No, well, in fact, the factory is mostly shut down, has been shut down for several months due to lack of demand. That's the Fiat 500 and the new Fiat Panda. Well, it seems nobody wants to pay £26,000 for a tiny EV Fiat 500e that is twice the price of the petrol version. I wonder why nobody's buying it. But on the hot side of Stellantis, they've just bought into a Chinese firm called Leap Motors for a joint venture. They make the full car over in China, then dismantle it into bigger components and ship them to Poland, where Stellantis, well, yeah, they've got yet another factory already shut down, and that's ready for them. Here, they will assemble them and sell them tariff-free into Europe, labelled as, yeah, you've guessed it, made in Europe. Seems if you can't beat them, then join them. Prices for the initial version, the T03, are likely to be $15,995, and at that price, I suspect they'll get a lot more takers, and the factory will actually be in full production. These are great little cars at exactly the right price. Even their bigger versions, which are due later, the B10 and the C10, these are sensible family-sized EVs, and even they're likely to be priced well below £30,000. So a real alternative to the pitiful offering we have at the moment for Corsa E. That's about £30,000 itself, and an even dearer Astra with, well, we get to the Chinese eventually. BYD led the charge for the Chinese with several of their models on display. The Dolphin, Seal and Sea Lion 07 were front and centre. BYD is about to start production in Hungary early next year, 2025, so tariffs are not likely to be so much of an issue. In the meantime, their prices, even with tariffs, are something that Ursula von der Leyen panics about all the time, hence the latest round of tariffs announced by the EU Commission that have just been applied. But they are still negotiating. Well, if she looked at Europe's EV offering, she'd be better welcoming the Chinese in with open arms, as most are on the point of throwing in the towel. The Seal and the Sea Lion are both aimed squarely at the Tesla Model Y and 3 market, and they've got a lot going for them. They're in the £45,000 to £50,000 range, so head on. Their latest sales figures do not show them to be making much headway. BYD might match Tesla for overall electric production, but most are still hybrids. Thankfully, they're still starting to wind down. Hybrids are not the future. Not burning fossil fuel is the future, and with ranges for most cars now heading up towards and above 400 miles, it's high time that most people realise that they simply never drive much more than 100 miles a week. Yeah, maybe one or two longer trips a year. But answer this, would you buy a 14-seater minibus because once or twice a year you go on a family outing to the beach with more than a dozen members of your family? Course you wouldn't. 99% of everyone's driving is comfortably well within the range of even really budget EVs. Buy what you need for everyday use and cope with the one or two exceptions as they arise. Most of us just get Uncle Bill and Auntie Mabel to bring their own cars instead of all piling into mine. Well, no sign of the real budget Seagull yet. I understand they are in the process of adapting it to meet EU regulations, but that is definitely one to look out for because over there it's about £8,000. Xpeng showed up with their Tesla competitor, the P7 Plus. There's no firm price on this yet, but they've already stated that they're going to be aiming to take a big lump out of the £30,000 to £40,000 UK market. This is a true AI-defined vehicle, has so many advantages. I'll be looking forward to the full spec and driving this one in 2025. Well, Mercedes and Audi, they were there. Seems a bit of a joke. Both are struggling with totally dismal EV sales in Europe and America, and their Chinese sales haven't totally dried up. Seems in a battle between classic quality and prestige and new high-tech wizardry, the classic it's out of fashion. Both complain about lack of customer demand along with BMW. It's a gentle way of saying they can't sell enough. But look at the prices. They seem to have taken a leaf out of Ford and Ram manuals. Hike up the price so while we may not sell many, we will make a decent profit on the few that we do sell. Unfortunately, that strategy isn't working for Ford or GM either. Both BMW and Mercedes have increased prices by 50 and 55% in recent years. Hardly worth identifying which is which. What a ridiculous strategy. While their price increases have increased the average European EV price from 40 to 45,000 euros, the entire rest of Europe is heading down below 25 and some even below 15,000. Audi, by the way, launched the e-tron Q6 Sportback between £65,000 and £95,000. I think that says it all. Peugeot are here, but they've got little to offer, certainly at the budget end. Their offerings are right in the middle, the E408, the E3008 and the E5008, and these are priced around about 40, 45, 50, up to 55,000. I can't help thinking they are fighting in a weight bracket well beyond their ideal range. This segment is heavily occupied already with real heavyweights. Whatever happened to the Peugeot 205, the 208, the 308 size cars? They excelled here at one time. This was once their bread and butter. See what I mean about Stellantis blowing hot and cold? Peugeot is part of Stellantis, but they seem to have completely lost their way. This is not where they should be. Alfa Romeo, they've almost got the message with the release of their Junior EV. This is a cracking small car with 3 models. Base model is too dear, it's about 33,000, but it will sell against the Renault 5. It's an Alfa Romeo. It will have a fighting chance. Top of the range is above 42,000, and this is Model 3 and Y territory. Both very much bigger and better cars. Better performance as well. Still, it looks good, it's well put together, just a touch dear. While some manufacturers have taken the falling battery prices and passed them on to their customers, others seem to be in a bit of no man's land. Not a cheap, small car, not a big and premium car, but small and overpriced. Well, if Renault and Citroën can sell small cars at between 20 and 25,000 euros, they all should be able to. Time will tell. Skoda were there also with the new L-Rock. It's a great model, this one, coming in exactly the right place. It is smaller than the Enyaq, that's quite a big family car, and it's better priced. Price in the UK is going to be round about £31,000. And at that price, Skoda's got a very good reputation, a very good car, good performance, good range. This one will sell. Well, the show was a real statement for EVs. Growth of EVs is likely to mean that Europe ends up with around 24% of the market as EVs in 2025. That's massive and on target. They got 12 new models, almost all at the ultra budget end, and the rest are well priced, apart from the Germans. The Chinese are just dipping their toes into the water, and they like what they feel. Chinese do make really good EVs. Gone are the really appalling efforts they offered just 5 years ago, just like the Japanese found. Their early efforts were appalling too. They're past that now, and they offer a complete range of really good EVs at really exciting prices. Now, for those who think EVs are here today, gone tomorrow, you would do really, really well to look at Norway and China and the latest September figures. In the first half of 2024, Norway saw 84% of all sales as EVs. They are heading rapidly towards a 2025 where they'll have 100% EV sales, nothing else. Yes, the number of sales is quite low. It's a relatively small country, and the numbers will also start dropping now because most people already have an EV, so sales will naturally drop. But 100% EV penetration is what we will start seeing everywhere. China is now in a race with them for that 100% penetration, and they could well get there this final quarter. I know Norway is tiny, but China is the largest new car market in the world, and that is no longer anything but EV. You have to wonder who the likes of Ford and Mercedes and General Motors are going to be selling their ICE and hybrid cars to in just a few years. The markets for ICE and hybrids are shutting down on a monotonous basis. Well, look at the UK market for new car sales in September just gone. Well, 10 years ago, it was almost 100% ICE with 450,000 new cars sold. This September 2024, sales are down to little over half of that, 275,239. But 18% of that is now EVs with 56,387 and 63,000 are HEVs and PHEVs. So the cold hard facts are that new ICE car sales, those with no batteries in them, in September were down from 450,000 in 2016 to an unsustainable 1/3 of that total, 155,349. Is nobody else seeing this? ICE sales are on the point of disappearing. Well, the Paris Motor Show 2024 certainly is seeing this. EVs are the future. ICE is already crashing rapidly. It's probably already dropped below the point of no return and will soon be too uneconomical to continue. The future is electric. I'm Dave.